going to turn the clear coat off for now. Make that smaller. Flake height 100. So that's actually angled, that's actually controlling the bump of the flake texture itself. Bring the flake density down to 50%. Now I got a bunch of smaller flakes all floating over top that base color. And that's usually a good default setting for the flake density. Make the texture a bit smaller. Now you got all these other colors in here.
Any idea what its default, what 100% flake height means? Does it mean 1 millimeter, 1 meter?
It's a percentage.
Wondering if it had any real world translation.
Not really. It's like 0%, everything's smooth. So if I crank the density back up to 100%, I've just replaced the surface color with the flake color. And it's all perfectly smooth.
So
I'll take the roughness off for here.
So when you set it to 1,000, you were exaggerating the angles just so that there would be more variety?
Yeah.
More sparkle?
Yeah.
Do you think this Flakes texture could be a good glitter texture?
That's pretty much what it is. So flake height of 100. Breaks that up a little bit, not a whole lot. And then when you bring it a little bit smaller, now you're starting to get the two colors together. And again, it's like pull in a...
so Dave,
yep.
Your flake density is in relation...
Yeah, it's basically the flake size. 100% means they all blend together. 50%, you know, they're half that size. And, you know, it just keeps getting smaller from there.
Is it like coverage for
Yeah.
crust or... Okay.
Yeah. So I can 75%. It's only 25% of the color showing through underneath them. 100%, they all line up again. It's basically like polygon size.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah. If I do 5%, I got very tiny little flakes, really scattered apart. 25, just brings them up a little bit more. 50, that's good. And then the scale is actually the size of the flake texture itself. So all this stuff just works for flakes only. So when you increase the flake height to, like, you know, 1,000, they're all different angles. And I'm going to add in a gradient. Actually, I'm going to use Incidence Angle. And IFW. Okay, this is a nice little IFW texture. It creates a gradient instantly. Show you what the whole thing really looks like. So it does an entire spectrum, and you can change the spread of the thing. And you can also choose its starting color. So that's using the incidence angle. And I'm going to feed that into my flakes.
Funky.
Let's darken that red a bit. Maybe make the flakes a little larger. Bring that texture down a bit more. And I think I'm going to change my incidence angle to light incidence. So where is that?
Would it be under regular gradient?
No. Okay. Easy way of doing this. Pull up a shader. which gives me a light incidence for all the lights. Yes, you can plug a red dot into a green one, that's no problem. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking the shading from the light, applying it into the spectrum, so now it's coloring the flakes based on the direction to the light source. And I've used up all my undos, I can't render anything. Node editor uses up a lot of memory, so every once in a while you have to hit this little button that says purge. And now I can render again. Because it saves all the stuff you've done. So you go into any of the envelopes and you've changed a few of those things, you go into the main envelope editor and you look at the list, you'll see like all the previous envelopes you used for something.
Also, if you've got a complex node tree going and you find yourself getting a lot of crashes in LightWave, start hitting that button often.
Yep. Yeah. The first sign is when you go to render, you just see gray. You're like, okay, you're full. So that's kind of got a bit of a stained glass look in this area.
Is there a real world material that will change color based on light intensity?
Yep.
Other than mood rings or something?
Yeah. It's a better idea for this. Instead of using a Lambert node, let's use an actual specular node instead. So I'll bring in the Fong, which is the other built-in LightWave shader. So that's doing a better effect. I can also probably brighten that up by taking this thing and putting that into the value as well. And I'll do a math, multiply, take that color, multiply it in here, and say 5. Or 10 times brighter. There we go. Now we'll go back into clear coat, turn, whoops, go back to Fresnel and plug that in. And then you make those flakes a bit smaller again. So even though it's like, you know, the node itself handles a lot of this stuff, it always works better when you start plugging other things in. It's like that Fresnel gets a more natural reflection. Without that, it's pretty even looking. Just kind of loses the depth that you get when you throw this in here. And that's all pretty much just one node. So I'm not using him. Not even using the wood textures right now for that, but I can throw those back in, no problem. You want a very subtle effect. Do an actual render so the anti-aliasing cleans that up. So that'd be like having glitter rubbed into the wood.
I was going to ask if people ever do that for flooring, but then I was thinking maybe some bowling balls.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that marble there is actually using the car paint node. This one's using Kappa. These are all using dielectric.
You modeled the bubbles in?
Yep. They even modeled that crack. That was the hardest marble to do, too.
So you blended the paint and clear coat to like 50%?
What's that?
You had the blend from clear coat to paint to like 50%.
Mm-hmm.
See this? When you went to clear coat 100%, all we saw was that. So are we actually looking through clear coat, or is it just a?
It's really more like a compositing blend, because it's not actually adding any thickness between the clear coat and the surface.
Okay.
It's just kind of simulating it. But,
And
yeah,
the
there we
light
go.
isn't- The light isn't actually going through
No,
clear coat into.
no. And you can actually change the color of the clear coat, but that's only the reflection. So if I make this purple, my whole reflection is now purple. If I take the node out of there, it's not actually affecting the color of the wood itself. I don't think it is. Hey, let's try it. Let's make it black. Oh, it is tinting it. Okay. Yeah, I haven't done a lot with colored clear coat before, so yeah, it actually is filtering the surface below it, or in the node above it. So yeah, even the clear coat color gets blended in there.
So I guess you could do all red for a red lacquer.
Yep. Yeah, it's you put a standard wood surface on like a guitar body, and then get like a black to red to white gradient. You can get that nice lacquered guitar look on it.
Actually, I'm wondering about like candy.
Here, let's take the flakes off. Flake opacity, that just fades them on or off. So now they're gone. Actually, just had a habit, I zero everything on this. I've got my wood back in there. Okay, let's take add a gradient. And where's my incidence? I don't need that. There's two ways of getting incidence in nodes. There's an incidence node, and there's also the spot info. This one gives you a little more control because you can go for a 90 or 180 degree incidence, or you can reverse it. And each one just puts a copy of that as a grayscale. So I'm going to put that into the clear coat color. See where the red's going. Okay, so that's the edge. Oh yeah, there's a colored lacquer effect. Pull this black in a bit more. Whoops. So any questions?